This is Andi Purewal for Boxing Social in association with Betfred, and for the second time in Miami, I am joined by Eddie Hearn. Eddie, how are you?
Good, well done for getting out here. Very impressive. Lucky boy.
I can't complain, Eddie. Obviously, I'm fortunate to be here. I appreciate yourselves and Matchroom inviting us out. Before we come into this week, I saw you've been on a little tour of America. Do you want to just kind of go over that for me?
Yeah, it was good. It was kind of like I went out to see Canelo and Billy Joe before their fights, both doing a bit of media, talking to Canelo about various projects and wanting to catch up with Billy and the team, both in tremendous form, both very confident. Billy looks outstanding. He looks like he's on weight already. And then I sort of like just reached out to everyone I know in Vegas and everyone that was there, and ended up having about 12 meetings in 12 hours. And yeah, it was really good. So very fruitful trip, and really looking forward to May the 8th. Like, I think Billy Joe, we know when he's switched on, he can beat anyone on his day. He'll need to be super switched on in this fight, but he's also, you know, Billy Joe understands what needs to be done. They're putting the work in. He looks in tremendous shape. Canelo looks and is super confident. I think we're going to get a great fight.
What was it like going to obviously that gym, Eddie Reynoso's gym, is stacked with some brilliant fighters. Many consider it the best stable in boxing. Yeah,
it was. I mean, I know I get the mickey taken out of me about being a Canelo fanboy, but I'm also an Eddie Reynoso fanboy, and I love gyms like that. And it was quite amazing to see the gym, because it's tiny, and you sort of walk in, you look around the corner for another bit, and you go, wow. So, you know, you've got this ring where people like Canelo, Andy Ruiz, Ryan Garcia are sparring, and there's a treadmill, and it's 6 foot from the gym, from the ring. You know, it's almost like the guys are on top of you, and I just get the feeling with those guys that they don't fuck around. You know, you give 120% in there, or you ain't welcome. And I love gyms. You know, I love the feeling of, and I don't, you know, I know there's a lot of high performance gyms and stuff like that, and they're good too. But you know, when you just go into almost like a bit of a dive, you know, and you just think, fuck, this is where the hard work, you can smell it, can't you? You can smell the dreams, the sweat, the tears, the disappointment, and that's what we love about boxing. And what they've done there with that team is incredible. And the fundamentals of boxing and the ethics of boxing, which is hard work, dedication, discipline, respect, is the same thing that's taught and instilled in grassroots gyms. So it doesn't matter if it's the Repton or Lion or Rotunda or, you know, all these great clubs, they're all the same. They're full of the same people, you know, and it's a really great feeling to be in a gym with people that, I don't know, I guess are trying to better themselves, trying to chase their dreams and are working hard. And then you get the flip side. Went to see Billy in the UFC centre. Shout out to Dana and the guys there for letting him use it. Amazing. I mean, that, as a business, as a facility, it's just unbelievable. And yeah, and other meetings. Had a good meeting with Dana. Met up with Tyson Fury and just had a little chat with him. And it was a really good trip. And then red-eyed it over here overnight, which was probably the worst bit. But we're here and looking forward to a great card.
So much to dissect that I want to dissect there, Eddie, but we will start off with the Andrade Williams card. I think it would be a bit disrespectful to move away from it, because it's a brilliant fight, and as I've spoken to people throughout the week, for whatever reason, it just seems kind of like it's not had so far the recognition it deserves. Do you think that's fair?
Yeah, because no one knows about Liam Williams over here. It's been a bit frustrating, because when the WBO called the mandatory, I thought, fuck, this is a great fight. And this is the kind of fight Demetrius needs. The problem is, in America, no one knows Liam Williams. I suppose they look at his resume and see he lost twice to Liam Smith, who, by the way, is a world-class fighter as well. And, like, this is just another easy fight for Demetrius. Now, the hype it's had in the UK, totally different. People give Liam Williams a chance, and I give him a chance. He's a great fighter, but I'm really excited for this fight, because I feel like it's what Demetrius needs. He needs a guy. Everyone comes in when they fight Demetrius and says, I'm going to stick it on you, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Liam will do it, right? You've seen him ranting and raving up and down. He's pumped, and he's tough, and he can punch. But Demetrius is really, really good. He might be a pound-for-pound great. And I'm not saying that victory over Liam Williams makes him a pound-for-pound great, but I think if he destroys Liam Williams and schools him, but he still needs that resume to prove how good he might be. And you only get that by fighting the elite guys. But I think this is a tremendous fight.
Let's just say, obviously, Demetrius does win on Saturday. Does he need to produce the type of performance you've just said to actually receive the credit that he deserves?
But I said there, Andy, you heard me talking to his documentary crew. I said, I've had him, this is our 5th fight together, right? He's not lost a round. And when we did his fight, everyone says Demetrius Andrade don't sell, he don't do this. We did him in Providence. We had 9,000 in there. It was wild. He knocked Zaleski down in the first round. And then he just he done what he does. He puts in a beautiful boxing performance. But I have to be real, I don't want to see that. I want to see him go and knock people out. I want to see him step on the gas. But it's very hard to say to a trainer or his dad. Like, his dad will say, hey, calm down, what's the matter? You just box this kid. He can't touch you, right? I want to say, I want you to produce a performance and a showreel knockout that we can make some noise with. But I think you need an opponent that is actually going to come to do that. Because Demetrius is never going to start walking guys down and bashing them up. But he won't have to with Liam Williams. He'll be right in front of him. But I'm looking forward to seeing Demetrius under pressure. And, although he's not our fighter, I like Liam Williams. I like Dom, I like those guys. And obviously Francis Warren and Queensbury here. And it's a massive opportunity for them. They could have a world middleweight champion on Saturday. So it's a real fight.
I spoke to Demetrius yesterday and he spoke about how much he wants Golovkin next. Obviously, we know Charlo's been mentioned on numerous occasions. But he said with those fights, it just comes down to money. He's like, how much more do you feel you have to offer? Because I remember previously when there was talk about the £7-8 million offers put to Charlo, for example.
They won't come, and I don't need them to come. We'll do the fight on Fox. Like, people sometimes have got to look at situations like Andrade against Charlo and Ryan Garcia against Devin Haney and just break it down sensibly and go, why? The reason is because they don't think they can beat him, or maybe the trainers don't think they can beat him. Because I've said to another person I had a meeting with yesterday, Louis de Cubas, and part of PBC, and said, look, we'll take the same money that you gave Derevenchenko, right? And that was on pay-per-view. Charlo Andrade, much, much bigger than Charlo Derevenchenko. So what's the excuse? You say you want to fight the champions. You say you want to unify the division. Charlo Andrade's a brilliant fight. Part of me wants Demetrius to look bad on Saturday, get knocked down and scrape a win, so they might fight him. But the problem is, Andy, is a lot of these fighters have grown up together and they saw Demetrius coming through and they knew how good he was. Like, he was one of the top amateurs. No one wants to fight Demetrius Andrade. But if he can at least put in a performance that is spectacular, we can start shouting from the rooftops and maybe then there'll be a chance.
We know how much the Zone's backed you guys and invested into Matchroom and the shows you've put on, but is there any pressure on their behalf to see Demetrius in one of those fights now? Yeah,
I think so. I mean, this is a good fight for the Zone because it's an early start time. It's going to have a big UK audience as well, and that's a big focus for them, is the global output of their fights now. So yeah, they want to see Demetrius in a big fight. He's on good money, and Demetrius against X, he's not always going to set the world alight, so they need to see him in a big fight, and they're happy as well if he gets an opportunity and it's not on the platform. I think that's one of the most refreshing things about DAZN. They also understand that we can't restrict opportunities for fighters. So that's what I said to the guys yesterday, if you need to do it on Fox pay-per-view, go ahead.
One thing just with the fight being earlier on Saturday, we know that we have the Jake Paul Ben Askren fight on the evening or night time rather. Is that something we will expect to see more often to kind of cater for whichever audience is backing certain fighters? So for this example, Williams being British.
Yeah, this fight was always actually, I think DAZN had always decided to put this on. I feel like in America, there's no real difference between this fight being at 11 o'clock at night Eastern or 6 p.m. Eastern. But there's a big difference between this fight being 4 a.m. and 11 p.m. or midnight. If you're a British fight fan, you can stay up, you can watch it. And that's something, the global platform of DAZN is really interesting. And you're going to get almost like a global universal system where fights are happening all over the world in different territories, but they're relevant to different markets. So, you're going to have a situation where next Friday in Barcelona, Kay Prosper and Gavin McDonnell are going for the European title against two very good Spaniards, right? Great for the UK audience. Our show's coming up in Italy or Australia or Mexico. We'll have international. So you build this circuit, right, of fights where fighters get the opportunity to box all over the world. And when you get a case where this fight is very, very exciting to the UK audience, it's the first time really someone's had the opportunity to do that. Every fight, hasn't it, for UK fight fans, it's just 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. That's it. And they did it for Ryan Garcia against Luke Campbell, and it did huge numbers. So I think that's a model they're looking at, and they're learning and they're understanding the audience.
As I mentioned, you've got the Jake Paul-Ben Askren fight. I've actually just saw a little clip of Jake Paul, and he was asked what type of fighter do you see yourself as. He said he sees himself as an elite fighter. Eddie, what have you started?
Yeah, I know. Sorry about that. He can fight. He can fight. I mean, he'll knock Askren out in the first or second round. You can save that clip. He's, Jake Paul is never going to win a title, but he can fight a little bit. Like he's better than some pros I've watched, but not many. But I mean, the problem is with boxing is you need to get eyeballs on the sport, right? So we're kind of like, although he's fighting an MMA fighter, I think the one after could be and should be an actual boxer. And then at that stage, are you all right with it? Do you know what I mean? Because I know Jake Paul a lot better than some people. He's actually a lot smarter than you might think he is. And actually he's training hard. He's got a good training team, BJ Flores and the guys. And I don't think he wants respect, but at what stage do you go, well, he's entitled to do it? Askren is a fighter. We know he's not a boxer, but he's a fighter. Like, he's an Olympian, he's fought in UFC. So once Jake Paul starts fighting boxers, are you all right with that? The hardcore fight fan that think Jake Paul is a complete bellend, are you all right with it then that he's in with real boxers? Because I think that's where he'll probably go with it. But I watch him and I think, fuck me, don't stop pushing the fight. I mean, I don't know how many buys it will do, but I'm sure there'll be a lot of eyeballs on it.
I just wanted to touch on Triller, Eddie. We know that they've come in now, they've invested heavily into the sport. We know they've offered pretty much double what you guys did for that Lopez and Cambosos purse bid. What are your thoughts on their kind of move into boxing? And they've just picked up Fight TV as well.
Yeah, I think it's great. I mean, anytime there's more investment into the sport, anytime that you can show your broadcast partners that there's other broadcasters looking at and entering the market, makes them feel like they've made the right choice. They're doing what we did 2.5 years ago, which was come in with an unknown brand in that territory and make noise. And to make noise, you have to spend money. They won't spend this money forever, but in the meantime, they will. I don't like the old. I don't mind Jake Paul against Ben Askren. I don't like the old guys fighting, like Evander Holyfield and Mike Tyson and Oscar, and I don't really like that, to be honest with you. But I don't mind Jake Paul against Ben Askren. I don't mind. Is it Joe Fournier's fighting some guy on there? Yeah, that's all right. It is what it is. It's not championship boxing. It's just entertainment, and I love entertainment. They got Justin Bieber on or something. Snoop Dogg's doing the commentary. I mean, it's a bit weird, but that's good. I don't mind it. But you just have to know what it is. It's not really championship boxing. It's just entertainment. And if you're a real fight fan, you probably don't like it. But if you're just a guy who likes a bit of boxing and a bit of music, yeah, I might give it a try. So I'm all for it. I think great to see someone else in the marketplace spending money, giving fighters opportunities, and good luck to them.
Just before we move forward, Eddie, I just want to move backwards to this past weekend. Conor Benn, terrific performance, stopping Sammy Vargas. Just obviously reflect on that for me, and what is next for Conor?
Well, I think it was a tremendous fight. I mean, he's a real star, Conor Benn, and I'm a fan. I really like him as a person. I think he's a great fighter. I've watched his development with Tony Sims, and shout out to Tony Sims, the job he's done with him, and also the gym at the moment, which is buzzing. Felix Cash got a big fight coming up. He's going to win by knockout as well. And I just feel with Conor that Tony won't let us get carried away because he's sensible and he knows that we've still got work to do. We've just got to make the right moves and the right fights at the right time. And you look at that division. Someone sent me the rankings. I mean, how hard is that division? Yeah. Not only have you got champions like Errol Spence and Terence Crawford, you've even got other champions and competitors. Ugas, Manny Pacquiao, Keith Thurman, Danny Garcia, Sean Porter, and then you've got the young kids coming through. Virgil Ortiz, Jaron Ennis. I mean, you've got David Avanesian, you've got Danny Aryalusinov. You could name 30 fighters in that division who are all good, who with their ability, all deserve to win a world title. And Conor's in that mix. I want to see him get some more rounds. I'd love to make the Amir Khan fight. I've spoken to their team. They're not, for Amir, he's really got one fight left and he just wants to make as much money as possible. It's not a secret. So if we could do that, I do think he'd consider the Conor Benn fight and I would take that fight for him. And Amir's not going to be ready till September, October. Conor will fight again in the summer. It's a tough one now because he still needs rounds, but he's calling out and people are saying about Khan and Porter and just this kid could be something really special. And I remember when we signed him, his dad, who has been remarkable in allowing Tony to do his thing. It's very difficult as a father, especially as someone who's such a great fighter, to say, son, you're on your own. I trust your team of people around him. And I remember when I signed Conor, we did the press conference, Nigel come up to me and said, look after my boy. And I thought, I did nearly shit myself as well at the same time. And I said, I promise I will. And we will do that. And we'll make the right moves, the right fights. He's a rough diamond. But when we had our little exchange on TV, he says, hard work beats talent when talent don't work. I said, you've got talent now. That's the difference. Before you were just a hard worker who was raw. Now you're becoming a world-class fighter. If you keep this work ethic, if you keep making the right moves, if you keep listening to people around you that care about you, you could crack this. And he has no ceiling, Conor, because he's a superstar. And if he's good enough, he's going to, just be in some huge fights. He's going to make an absolute fortune, and he could become a world champion. And if you can do that at the 147-pound division, mate, hopefully a lot of those guys will retire by the time Conor's ready. But really, he's going to box twice this year, and certainly the second of those fights will be a very, very big fight.
I will say, Eddie, I didn't envy you stood there next to Conor on Saturday night after the fight because I thought he was going to come for you.
Clip where he's like,
the guy's redone it, yeah.
He's like, do you want 3p change? Do I look like I want 3p change? But he's fired up because he worked so hard in that camp and he only got, 80 seconds. So, yeah, I love his passion.
One name I just want to throw at you for Conor is David Avanesian, because I spoke to Cole Greaves the day after and he was kind of surprised that David's name wasn't mentioned, or at least more so from Conor. Your thoughts? Do you think that fight's possible?
I just think if you look at who Conor Benn was calling out, he was calling out Amir Khan and Kell Brook, and he was calling out a massive, arena fight. And David Avanesian is a fight that's been mentioned. David Avanesian is a very, very good, very dangerous fighter. That fight is a 50-50 fight. That fight is one that, do you make that fight now? Is Conor Benn ready for that fight? He'll tell you he is. Tony Sims will be the decider in that. I want to get David Avanesian shot at the world title. That fight, for me, and I'd love Conor Benn to win the European title, but I think David deserves the right now to fight for the world title, or at least a world title eliminator. Maybe that comes against Conor Benn. I don't rule that out. But it's not that Conor Benn was calling out the whole division. I mean, if you look at who he was calling out, it was the marquee names. David is not a marquee name, what he is a name now through that great performance. But what he is a world-class fighter, and we have to get him the fight, the money, everything that he deserves to put himself in a position. I want to see him fight for a world title. Don't rule out the Conor Benn fight, but that is a very, very tough fight.
Just one person from that card, one other person I want to touch on before we move forward. Savannah Marshall, again, standard performance, stopping her opponent, late stepping opponent as well. But after that, we know that she's been big on the Clarissa Shields fight. Clarissa Shields trying to hand at MMA now. Just your thoughts on that?
On MMA?
Yeah. No, on Clarissa Shields moving into MMA.
I mean, Yeah, I'm not mad on it. I mean, if she would have gone into the US, I don't know what she's doing. Is it? It's not Bellator, is it?
No,
What
it's
is it?
not. It's PFC, I think it is.
Is it? I don't know what that is. But look, I like Clarissa Shields. I know we have our backwards and forwards, but I can't knock her. You know, I'm talking to Mark Taffet and Demetrius, in fact, trying to get on a call tomorrow with them. I really want to make Marshall Shields really it's such a great fight. Clarissa's a great fighter. I'm so confident Savannah Marshall beats her. But I think Clarissa's fighting in June, isn't she? So I would like to get Savannah, if the Shields fight can't get made till whenever, October, whatever, I do feel like we should get her a more serious contender. And she was a bit unlucky last time because of a late pullout. But maybe a champion, maybe a Sedaros or someone like that who we can see her if she performs the same way when she steps up the levels. Because that is a concern, is the level she's been fighting at, the jump to Clarissa, it's a long way. But I just think she's special, Savannah. I really do. I think she's going to knock her out. And I will do everything to try and make that fight this year, September, October, November, something like that. I just think it's great fight for boxing. Forget women's boxing, it's just a fucking great fight. The build-up will be epic.
Moving forwards, Eddie, heavyweight talk. Start off with my good mate, Big John Fury.
Yeah.
I know you saw the clip.
He's calmed down a little bit, hasn't he? I haven't seen any rants lately. I think everybody's happy that we're doing as we said we'd do. I had a chat with Tyson in Vegas yesterday. He was on great form, and it was just good to hear from the horse's mouth he wants it. And as much as there'll be animosity in this build-up, I feel like everybody accepts we have to make this fight. Your next question is, where are we with the fight? We're in a great place. We looked at the offers. Both teams accepted an offer, which is great news. There wasn't any dispute over which one. It was, we both accept that offer. We're papering that offer, and it'll be done very soon. And I know I keep saying like 2 weeks and 98%, but the best update I can give you is the site deals were reviewed. Both teams agreed on one particular site offer. So that's where we're at.
How many offers were put to you guys? Because I remember seeing AJ post that he'd had his first official offer on the site put to him.
When it says official, it comes via the form of an actual heads of terms and written confirmation. There's been several offers, some of which involve site deals, some of which don't involve site deals, and there were several opportunities put to both fighters, but this was a standout offer that everybody accepted and said, we approve that deal. So, all the build-up of, they've still got to agree the deal, that's all done now. So now we just have to we have to make sure we're happy with the venue, which is being discussed at the moment. The exact pinpoint date, it is the summer. There's no talk about this fight going to September, November, whatever. 2 fights this year. And yeah, we're I know, so nearly there, but that's the best update I can give you. We accept the terms offered from a site, and that's where we'll be going to do the fight, and you will learn about that location in very due course.
I saw yourself and Tyson put up a photo of the Allegiant Stadium, very simultaneously.
Yeah. That was on the, that was on the list. The offer that we've had, again, that's an offer. When you talk about a site deal, it's very different. You have the ability to take big money on the gate, and then you have a site deal. Okay, so the offers that come in from around the world, some are site deals, some are just the ability to create great revenue, and that's the Allegiant. Las Vegas aren't going to pay, or the government there aren't going to pay a site deal for that. They'll just say might be a minimum guarantee on the gate, but this is, you can get 70,000. This is the revenue created on the gate. Whereas a site deal that comes in is sometimes different to the mechanics of that. The Allegiant Stadium is on the list, but it's not the venue that was accepted by both fighters.
Moving forwards with that, I just want to get your thoughts on Frank Warren's comments. Firstly, 2.5 million pay-per-view buys was kind of what he thought. He'd be disappointed if it didn't reach that. Just your thoughts?
I think it does 3 million. I think it does 3 million. But I think, how can anybody in the country not watch that fight? Like, it's the biggest fight the country has ever seen. It's the biggest one of the biggest fights of all time. It's the biggest fight in boxing. It's the biggest sporting event of 2021. Almost like, I know it's hard to say, forget the Olympics. Forget the Olympics. This is the moment of 2021. The whole world will stop this. So I don't disagree with Mr. Warren on that, but I think he's wrong. I think it does more. I think it does 3 million.
Rob McCracken, he also mentioned his involvements with Team GB squad out in the Olympics. Is that a kind of an issue for you guys with regards to Rob being able to train AJ going out for the fight with regards to dates?
Frank said the fight won't happen until September. This fight ain't happening in September. Trust me. Both guys want this fight. We'd like the fight end of July. That's when we want to do the fight. If it goes first week of August or whatever. Ultimately, Andy, the training teams will work around the fighters, right? The fighters are the bosses. So when we are told, right now we have a situation where we accept the offer that has been made from a site. Now we're finalising the date. Once that date comes in, it's not, oh, sorry, that one don't work for me. That's the date, mate. You get on with it. And both fighters accept the date we're given is the date we go. So, of course, nothing's ever ideal, but both guys know they want this fight so bad. And, I'll spend all my time around AJ, speaking to AJ. He wants this fight so bad. And it was good to see Tyson briefly yesterday, just to know. And although I believed he wanted the fight, everyone accepts this is it. This is the only fight that matters.
Just quickly start there before that time's out, Eddie. Just a few more questions. One thing we haven't really spoken about, I haven't seen much of, is the broadcast and the network deals around it. When will all of that start to be looked into, or has it already been set aside?
It's been discussed. It's actually not as complicated as you may think. There's nothing there that's going to stop the fight from happening. I think that people sometimes just got time on their hands and they sort of like, oh, well, this could happen. And we just keep overcoming every issue. And there is no issues around the broadcast deals. We just want to get the exact venue in the territory we've accepted, the date and all the paperwork finalised, and then that can be announced, and then we work through the broadcast situation, which there's been a lot of discussions about how that will work.
Do you have your own cut-off point as to when you would like to have everything finalised?
Again, we have everything in writing. We just want to make sure that all the contracts are right with both sides in terms of the site. The fight contract is signed. That's been signed for a while. The payment structure, the escrow, whatever that may be. And that's what's taking place at the moment with drafts and with the lawyers.
I also want to ask you about your TV deal in the UK. We know that your deal with Sky is coming towards an end. Have you got an update for us as to kind of where that stands, who you will be joining up with?
No, not really. I think that's a very personal... You're entitled to ask, but for me, that's a very personal decision for our business. And it's a very difficult decision, which I've said in other interviews as well. We have a great broadcaster in Sky. We have a couple of unbelievable offers on the table, and we have to review them because some of them could be life-changing for our fighters, life-changing for boxing, life-changing for our company. And we've worked really hard over the last 10 years to position ourselves and earn the right for those kind of deals. So we know that our broadcast deal is up at the end of June, and we have to make a decision, and that decision is imminent. And it's a very difficult one, but when the time is right, we'll respect everybody in the situation and make the appropriate announcement.
In your own mind now, have you got an idea as to who you will go with?
Yes.
There's a lot of talk that it may be DAZN. We know that they've obviously launched in the UK at the back end of last year. Is that what you believe might be most likely?
I think it would be very difficult for me to say DAZN aren't going to be very aggressive in trying to procure Matchroom and myself, and also the attraction of the global platform that they've produced is also very attractive. But again, there's other players, and of course we're in a relationship with a broadcaster that we've had a tremendous partnership with for a very long time. So again, very difficult decision, but we'll make the right decision for us and particularly our fighters and hopefully fans as well.
Finally, just two lightweight fights to touch on. Garcia Fortuna, disappointing for you that that's happened, Eddie?
It's a really good fight. I just wanted to make Haney against Garcia. I just feel that sometimes like, fans are quick to give you a stick or about saying it, but in this situation, you just sort of say, how can you not? Like, where's the noise from the fans to say, hang on a minute, Luke Campbell against Ryan Garcia was a final eliminator for Devin Haney and the WBC World title. Ryan Garcia won in a great performance, okay? WBC said, you got to fight Devin Haney. His team says, no, we don't want to fight Devin Haney. Why? COVID, it needs a crowd. We can get a crowd. Like, we've got 70,000 for Canelo coming up. So, it's because I only want to fight Gervonta or Pacquiao. Okay, I understand that. And if you get those fights, I can't knock it. But then you don't get those fights, and then you go and fight Fortuna. Good fight, by the way. Really good fight. But if you win that, surely you've got to fight Devin Haney. That's another final eliminator to fight Devin Haney. Why don't you want to fight Devin Haney? It sells out the Staples Centre, does massive TV numbers. You can become a world champion. But Haney has to beat Linares. Fucking tough fight. Really tough fight. And Garcia has to fight Fortuna. Really tough fight. So 2 great fights. Let's just make sure, if they both win, they meet in September, October, or whenever it be, because that is a barnstormer of a fight. You know, massive money for both guys, massive gate, massive viewership. They're the kind of fights we need. But in the meantime, no disrespect, 2 really good fights. Both guys have got to be on their A game to win that.
Just on Haney Linares, I spoke to Jorge Linares last night, and he's very, very confident that he will be coming away with a win.
Yeah, training really hard, experience. I'm worried because Devin Haney is, you know, the new Floyd, whatever you want to call him, but he's yet to fight. Gamboa win was good, but Gamboa's not what he was. This is dangerous against Jorge Linares. I just feel that Devin's special, and I feel these are the kind of fights where he's going to show how good he is.
Right, anyone leave a final word to yourself? Give everybody some Thursday motivation.
Thursday motivation. Life is good. You know, we're sort of coming out the other side. I just feel that I've done an interview with Michelle Phelps earlier, and she said, no one wants to die, but everyone wants to go to heaven. Right? And what I think we've got to understand is life is short. You have to be able to look yourself in the mirror every day and say, if the good Lord took me now, can I honestly say that I've done everything I can? No regrets. I've pushed myself to the limit every day. I've tried my best at everything I've done. I've had a great time. Can you say that? And I, you know, although I only look late 20s, I'm 41. Get to the stage now where, and this is quite depressing, but if the good Lord took you, I could say, me mate, I've fucking lived it. I couldn't have done any more. I couldn't have crammed any more. I couldn't have tried any harder. I couldn't have had more fun. You know, everyone will always have regrets. You could have done this. You could have spent a bit more time with a family or something like that. Yeah, I will probably say that one day. But my message to people is smile. Be kind to people. That's something you learn when you're older. Enjoy your life. Don't take things too seriously, but do your best. As long as you can look yourself in the mirror and say, I couldn't have done any more. Clean hearts win. That's it for today.
He certainly is, Eddie. I will catch up with you tomorrow for some Friday motivation. Yes. Thank you for speaking to Boxing Social.
Cheers, mate.